What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday to everyone. Hopefully, everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery. It is time now for the Monday edition of the Pandemic Update for Monday, September 25th, 2023. We are going to do three segments. Not two, but three segments in today's pandemic update. First, I'm going to give you an update on what's going on around here. As you know, COVID's in the house. Second of all, we're going to do an update on the data, but within that, there is a third thing that we are going to do, and that is we're going to take a look at some wastewater sites around the country. As we didn't do a wastewater update yesterday, and we probably won't get to a full one, I'm going to dedicate some time of this pandemic update to take a look at some wastewater sites in each region of the country. We may not get to every state. We may do more states later in the week. It's a day-by-day thing as what's going to happen here. The best way to follow along as to when I'm going to do, on a day that I'm going to do an update, is on my Twitter, at COVID Data Report, and you'll see the name come up as Data Report, same here as my channel, and you'll know which days I'm going to do an update. I'm going to tweet and say, hey, today there's going to be a pandemic update or some sort of an update. Alright, first off, what's going on here? Well, my dad definitely still has COVID. He tested positive again today, but it's a much more faint line, hence why we are doing an update today, but have no fear. I am still masking here in the house, just not at the moment, just to do this update, and I do have the air purifier behind me running at low right now. Normally I would run it at high, but right now it's at low so we can record an update. His biggest symptom that is still remaining is coughing. It just can't seem to get rid of the coughing, and whether he knew it or not prior to getting COVID, he already was immune compromised. He does have nodules on his lungs, which did cause him to have coughing business prior to COVID, but right now it's just at a whole new level. Much higher, much worse. Luckily, he already had a doctor's appointment for next week, just a checkup, and I've been telling him, when you go to the doctor's appointment next week, see if you can't get a CAT scan or a chest x-ray, just to play it safe to make sure there is no complications with pneumonia. We have heard of people in the early days, and I'm starting to see some tweets now, doctors saying, hey, COVID is causing pneumonia again. Now, he's had his pneumonia shot, but with COVID, we all know, anything can happen, so it would be a good idea to hopefully get that checked out. I have been testing negative. My mom's been testing negative. She's going to test yet again tomorrow. Hopefully she stays negative, but yeah, I've seen tweets that, almost a week out, people, a week out from exposure, people test positive. So who knows? This virus, it just keeps changing the ball game. Seems like once we figure out what's happening, it throws us another curveball. So we'll have to see what happens. Alrighty, let's do a bit of an update today. Well, first off, today is September 25th. What does that mean to you? That means if you live in the United States, and I know the vast majority of my followers do, some are in other parts of the world, but hey, if you're in the United States, you can get free at-home COVID tests. You can get 4 of them sent out to your house again. That's right, the government has started that up again because the government knows COVID's still out there. I mean, hey, we have it here in this household, and we know that they know that, hey, it's still a pandemic and there's still a lot of people positive, and testing, it's not cheap, it's not easy. I wanted him to get a PCR test, and hey, they wanted to charge $155. I always preach it's good to have that on your medical record. He said, that's a little expensive to do that. He didn't want to do it. And I'm like, okay, well, just keep rapid testing, and we know that he has it. And, that's a problem for a lot of people. I mean, these PCR tests right now are really expensive. Can you get them cheaper? Yes, there's some ways you can. And in some cases, it's even higher than that. I Read someone say that they wanted to charge $200 for a PCR test. It's totally ridiculous. At least we do have the rapid at-home test to detect a case. Alrighty, moving on. Some things have happened on my website lately, and that is, last week we added a ton of new COVID positives, a ton of new COVID outbreaks, and already this week I've added a new COVID outbreak about an air traffic control team. This is international, having a COVID outbreak. And I think as we go down the line, as you can see, we have a COVID outbreak section. I think I'm going to have to split that up and make that a whole section of its own, where it's, you have U.S. COVID outbreaks, Canadian COVID outbreaks, international COVID outbreaks, like we did with the studies and papers, like we did with the positive archives. I think it's going to be needed because it's just accelerating at a rapid pace now. Not only am I adding outbreaks, there's other members finding outbreaks as well. Now moving on to this, we have to take a look at air quality. We have not done this in a while, and it's important that we do so. And to be honest with you, air quality around the country is not all that bad right now, with exceptions. There are definitely some exceptions. The Great Lakes are pretty bad. You have some moderate levels. That continues over into the Northeast. The Southeast is not that bad. You do have some moderate here showing up, but overall I'm not terribly concerned. And then California through Oregon and the Pacific Northwest. Yes, there's a bad stretch there. The plains are not doing too bad. New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, on up into the Rockies, also not doing too bad. But again, Idaho, Washington, down through California, that's definitely the worst area in the United States. All right, taking a look at heat-related illnesses. Not as bad as we've been seeing, but take a look at this. In Florida, the numbers are way too high. They need to be lower. Still some concerning levels in Pennsylvania. And let's see here. Did this update today? Yeah, it did update today. So yes, Pennsylvania, there's still quite a few east of the Susquehanna River. There's still quite a few areas that are concerning. The West Coast, you still have a few areas, but definitely not as bad as it was throughout the summer. We have now entered fall. We did not get an update yet out of Walgreens. Let's refresh this again. Let's check. I'm really hoping to at some point today get a Walgreens update, and no. So we'll have to see if they do one tomorrow. Again, I don't know if we're going to do an update tomorrow or not. Depends on, it's a very changing situation here in the household. We'll have to see if hopefully I don't test positive, or if my mom tests positive. We'll have to see, because like I said before, you can go 7, maybe even 10 days, and oh, finally, hello, positive. All right, let's take a look at wastewater now, and I'm happy to report this. For the moment, I don't know how long this is going to last. For the moment, all 4 regions of the United States are showing drops here. The Northeast, the South is definitely having the biggest drop right now. The Midwest has started to drop. And the Northeast, it's a slow drop. I'm not certain that the Northeast is going to continue dropping, because you still have New Jersey and New York, which are really bad. And honestly, I'm going to show you New York in a little bit after we take a look at some wastewater sites. New York may be starting to rise again. All right, taking a look now at wastewater here. We're not going to do every site. We're going to do some. And taking a look at number of new sites, there's 76, 0 to 19%. That's really low levels of COVID. That's coming up at 66 sites. 20% to 39% COVID detected. That's 252 sites. 40 to 59% COVID detected. That's 434 sites. 60 to 79% COVID detected. That's 431 sites. 80 to 100% COVID detected. That is coming in at 152 sites. So let's go, let's start off in the Northeast. And we'll do a site in Maine first. And you can see here, there's a lot of red here, which is not good. And you can see here, as we come down here, let's go south in Maine to York County, Maine. Yep, that's continuing to rise. You can see Massachusetts, there's still rises there. We're just going to quickly go through these sites here. Then we come down to Providence. That's coming up red still. That's in Rhode Island. Boston, Massachusetts is moderate at this time. And look at upstate New York and western New York. A lot of orange and red, which is not good. Let's now come down here to Westchester, New York. You can see 31,000 population here, which it's a smaller site for New York standards. and it's red, but it is dropping at this time. Connecticut, you can see Fairfield is starting to drop finally. Here's another Fairfield that's at 100,000, and that is still rising at this time. Let's go over to Staten Island. Staten Island is dropping a little bit, and you can see here, when we take a look at New York City itself, this is not good. Look at all these light blue counties. That means there's a lot of sites, I shouldn't say counties, sites that are relatively high at this time. I mean, the next level is going to be orange. So we may start to see some orange pop up in New York City next week. And where we are seeing a ton of orange and red is New Jersey. New Jersey's not doing very well right now. Eastern Pennsylvania is not doing well right now. As you can see here, Morris County, New Jersey, it's red, but there is some dropping. So hopefully we lose some of these red sites in the next update later this week, but right now it's not doing well. Taking a look at Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. Speaking of not well, red and rising. Chester County, Pennsylvania, red and rising. And I have to show this. Center County, Pennsylvania. It may be dropping right now. I don't think that's going to last. They had a big Penn State football game this past weekend against Iowa. It was the second highest attended game ever in Beaver Stadium history. 110,830 people were cram-packed in the Beaver Stadium. If that does not cause an increase in cases, what will? I mean, that's just absolute insanity. Delaware, you can see here, Sussex County, Delaware's in the red, dropping. Let's do a little bit of Virginia. Here we go, coming to Central Virginia. This site, 220,000 people, is dropping. There's a lot of red right now in North Carolina. Do we need to look at any of these sites? I mean, it's just not good. We'll just take a look at a couple. Here's Pitt, 89,000 population. It's rising. What's going on in Atlanta? And a lot of these sites do not update frequently. Check later in the week. We will do some wastewater scan sites for Atlanta area. Florida, it's still orange, but I'm not seeing. Okay. I should correct myself. I'm only seeing one red site, and that's near Tallahassee. So this is definitely an improvement for Florida. Is there another red site? No. I'm not seeing any more red sites. So no. Florida slowly starting to improve, and the southeast region as a whole is dropping now for wastewater. Now we come over here to Arkansas, and we're seeing some drops there. Dallas is still very high at this time. Dallas is not good. We're seeing some drops, but there's a lot of orange and red there, so we need to see that drop even more. Let's come up here to St. Louis area, and you can see in the St. Louis area, there is still some rising ongoing there. Look at this. Not good to see that things are still rising there. How about Columbus, Ohio, Franklin County? 645,000 population. It's dropping at this time. That's good. Now we come near Chicago, and let's do the big site in Chicago, because it is important. Here we go. Cook County, 1.2 million. It is dropping at this time. Now we come over here to DeKalb, 45,000 population. That's still rising. And just randomly going through here, we do still have some sites rising, but there's also some sites that are dropping, or they were dropping and then they started to rise again. This one, Dubois, is still rising. So Chicago area, you're not in the clear yet. You're definitely still on the wave, and you may be starting to go a little bit higher on some of those sites. Nebraska, we're still seeing a lot of orange and red here, so though there may be some dropping, it's still really high levels. Do not let your guard down. Let's come out here to Utah. This site here is rising. It's in red, and there's still rising cases in Utah. I think I do have Utah queued up here. Sorry, Colorado. Let's take a look at Colorado cases. You can see Colorado cases last week. They did continue higher. 2,424 cases were reported in Colorado. Going back to the wastewater, let's take a look at California. Yes, California as a whole, there's still a lot of red and orange sites here. Let's come down to the south here, Orange County, California. That's still red. Los Angeles, it's still in the orange, 4 million population, so that's a big sample size. Taking a look here at what's going on in Washington, King, and Pierce counties, 896,000 population. It is in the lighter shade it is in the blue. It's just below moderate, and it is starting to drop at this time. Coming down here to Polk County, Oregon, orange has leveled off at this time. Douglas is dropping at this time. Let's go out to Western Washington. Whitman, 35,000 population at this site. It's in the red, but dropping. Idaho, Latah, this one's in the red, but it's still rising. And let's just real quickly take a look at what's going on in Minnesota area. 120,000 population at this wastewater site. It is still in the orange. We still have some orange and light blue in a lot of sites in Wisconsin. And lastly, let's real quickly take a look at what's going on in Michigan. Isabella, it's still in the red, but it has dropped at this time. Oakland, Wayne County, this is a big site. 840,000 population, and it is still rising. Alrighty, that does it for some wastewater sites today. The leading variant is the EG.5 variant, which is at 24.5%. Then you have the FL 1.5.1, 13.7%. And then the next one that we are starting to watch is HB.1 at 8.4%. All right, taking a look here, we want to refresh this. This is supposed to update today. This is the number of people in the hospital, 20,000, or number of COVID-19 hospital admissions in the past week, 20,538. Let's take a look at New Jersey. And unfortunately, I am going to refresh this. New Jersey, only 7 hospitals reported today, which is just awful. You would think that maybe more will report, but it's only 7 today. 7 out of 70. That still totaled 82 just from 7 hospitals. So we can assume that this number is significantly higher. Last week I was watching it go well over the 500s, which is not good. And speaking of not good, do have some good news, bad news. The good news, Philadelphia the whole weekend, even at the end of last week, very low EMS calls. 712. That's great. That's lower than those 800s, which we don't like to see. But we can assume Monday is not going so well. Why can we assume that? Well, let's come up to here. And there is a tweet that they put out 3 hours ago. The Philadelphia Fire Department has already responded to hundreds of 911 and EMS calls today, plus working fires. So today could potentially be high. The suburbs have been really busy. Here's Montgomery County, but Chester County has been slammed the entire day. I've seen a lot of sick calls. Yeah, still seeing that. Respiratory difficulty, heart problems, sick person, injured person. There's just been stroke. There's just been all kinds of calls. At one point earlier, there were like 5 to 7 sick person calls at once. So yeah, it's definitely busy in southeast Pennsylvania today. Let's take a look now at what's going on in Los Angeles. Here's LA County. You can see positivity rate. It's showing up here that it's dropping. Hospitalizations are starting to drop. Deaths are just kind of flat at this time. Now let's take a look at New York State. I'm going to move myself back to the right. 2,773 people tested positive on the new update. And hospitalizations, you can see here, they ended last week starting to rise again. 1,469, and in the ICU, 140. We'll have to see what happens tomorrow. You can see as a whole, the last 2 weeks are flat. We'll have to see if they rise tomorrow when the new week's reporting starts. Now let's see, can we take a look at Texas cases? Yes, we can. Texas cases last week continued down, 21,777 versus over 25,000. That's good to see. Also, hospitalizations decreased by 98, 101,442 people in the hospital, and deaths were down last week, 35 versus 40, which means they dropped by 5. Let's take a look at California. Positivity rate dropped a little bit. It was 11%, the average, that is. It was a little bit higher than that before. And the hospital admissions, the daily average is 368, and the deaths average is at 17. So, yes, people are still dying of COVID. Alrighty, folks, that does it for today's pandemic update. We'll have another one again in the near future. I don't know what day that's going to be. Follow me on at COVID Data Report on Twitter. And if you want to become a member of my website, by all means, sign up. hit the registration button right here. It's a great Twitter alternative. I'm constantly posting stuff daily, and guess what? You can post stuff, you can add your comments to any thread. You can start your own threads. Maybe there's something you found that you would like to share. By all means, do that. The website is datareport.info. Alrighty, folks, that does it for today's pandemic update. If you like this content, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. And if you know anyone that needs to see this really life-saving information, by all means, share this with them. I will see you all again next time. But until I see you again next time, stay safe, everyone. Continue masking everywhere. And have a great evening. Thanks for watching.